My name's Mike. I'm honored to serve as volunteer chair for Smoky Mountain Service Dogs. And on behalf of about 120 or so Smoky Mountain Service Dog volunteers, welcome. Now, where's my slide? That was last year. This year. But welcome, and I would hope that as you depart this evening, you'll take 4 things with you. First of all, that you will leave with a renewed patriotic spirit. Secondly, that you will have an enhanced appreciation for the sacrifice that members of our military and their families make on our behalf. Thirdly, is that you will be reminded that not all can be here this evening. And fourthly, it is our hope that you will feel that the mission of Smoky Mountain Service Dogs earns and warrants your continued support. Those are the 4 things that, someone asked me what do you want the message to be? Well, that's kind of what it is. And so at this point, I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Lee Greenwood and a video that demonstrates that freedom is not free.
Children and my wife, thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, but I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. There's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I
also for the presentation of colors, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance and our national anthem. The Carnes High School cadets presentation of the colors.
Present. Colors.
Our Pledge of Allegiance this evening will be led by Marine General Robert Taboo.
Please join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance by looking at the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Our national anthem will be rendered by Lieutenant Colonel Chuck O'Donnell of Carnes High School Cadet Corps.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You may be seated. You know, current estimates are that we still have over 82,000 who have not returned home. To honor them, our POWs and our NIAs, I'd like to introduce Ron McDaniel.
Although the Smoky Mountain Service Dog Organization, their focus is on helping the living who need assistance, they also like to pay tribute to those servicemen and women who cannot be with us. Those who have served and those currently serving in the uniformed services of the United States are mindful of the sweetness of enduring peace. It's always been tainted, however, by the bitterness of personal sacrifice. We are compelled, then, to never forget, while we enjoy our daily pleasures, that there are others who have endured and may still be enduring the agonies of of pain, deprivation, and of internment. Let us pause then to recognize the over 180,000 documented POWs and MIAs since World War I with the Missing Man Table ceremony. Please turn your attention to the table in the front of the room, and perhaps on the screen in front of you. It's supposed to be there if it's not. It's a table set to honor our missing comrades in arms. The table is a very special way of recognizing members of our armed forces who are missing in the ranks. Those brave men and women from all branches of service who answered the call and served the cause of freedom, but have never returned. These are the ones referred to as POWs, prisoners of war, and MIAs, those who are still missing in action. But we call them brothers. They're unable to be with their loved ones and families here, so we join together to pay our humble tribute to them and bear witness to their continued absence. So before we begin this ceremony, let us pause for a moment of silent prayer. Now, or sometime during the evening, take note of the table and its setting. Please be aware of the items on the table and grasp the meaning and symbolism of each one of them. The table is round, symbolizing our endless search and commitment to find them. It's a small table, symbolizing the helplessness of one person alone against his or her oppressors. The chair is empty, for they're not here with us. It's tilted forward against the table to show that we are holding a place for them when they return. Although they are missing, they are not forgotten. The tablecloth is white, which stands for the purity of their intentions in responding to their country's call to arms. The napkin is black, symbolizing the black hearts of some of our leaders and politicians who have abandoned and forgotten them or put them in harm's way for political or economic reasons. The wine glass is inverted, for they cannot dine and toast with us here tonight. There's a slice of lemon. It's on the bread plate. This is to remind us of their bitter fate. The salt is symbolizing the tears shed by those who wait for them. The hourglass represents the eternal passing of sands of time and continued reminder of each passing day. The chances of a joyous return diminishes. The single red rose displayed on a vase reminds us of the life of each of the missing and of the families and loved ones who keep the faith, awaiting the return of our MIAs and POWs. The vase is tied with a ribbon, be it yellow, red, or black, representing the ribbons and symbols worn upon the lapel of thousands who bear witness to our nation's unyielding determination to demand a proper accounting of our POWs and MIAs, and also the welcoming yellow ribbon tied around the old oak tree. The Bible is prominently displayed, representing the strength gained through faith to sustain those who are lost during the defense of our country. Our country was founded as one nation under God. The American flag is a symbol of our great nation. Old Glory waves to inspire and remind us of the many brave Americans who paid the ultimate so that we can live in freedom. All gave some gave all. The flag also represents our unyielding and untiring efforts to achieve freedom liberty, and justice for all. The candle is the light of hope, which lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home out of the hands of their oppressors and in the open arms of a grateful nation. Let us pray to the Supreme Commander that all of our comrades will soon be back in our ranks. Let us remember and never forget their sacrifices. This ceremony is a strong reminder to all who witness it that we will never forget the soldiers left behind on the battlefield. They may be in foreign lands. We will always honor their service, their sacrifice for our freedom, and dead or alive, they all deserve to come home.
Please remain standing as we retire the colors. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Mark Warren, on the bagpipes. The rest of the evening's program, what you can expect is we want to honor our recipients that are here this evening, their families, and their Smoky Mountain Service dogs. We want to recognize the volunteers that make this possible. We're going to talk just briefly about the year in review for Smoky Mountain Service dogs. It's been a very busy and wonderful year. And obviously, we're honored to have a wonderful keynote speaker this evening. And then we'll close with a very patriotic song, and your participation is encouraged. So, first of all, we're going to introduce you to our recipients that are here this evening. Recipients, you do not have to stand. If you just kind of wave your hand or something like that, and you can hold your appreciation until we've introduced all of them. Thank you. Air Force veteran Billy Marshall, his wife Krista. Billy's the tin man. He's always breaking his prosthetic arm. And his service dog, Lucy. Next. here at table 20, Cody Evans, Marine. His mother Regina and his Smoky Mountain Service dog Willie, named after my daughter Melissa's two grandfathers. Bradley Walker, right here. Marine Bradley, his wife Anna, and his Smoky Mountain Service dog Bella. Kevin can't be with us this evening. He had some recent surgery and he did not quite progress as he had hoped to. He asked me to give you a message. These dogs save lives. Kevin. Anna Belcher. Dr. Peanut, although she's getting a little too big for me to call Peanut anymore. And Stryker, Air Force Pararescue Special Forces. Chad Farley, Air Force, his wife Jess, and Smoky Mountain Service dog Bryce. Thanks for coming. Jason Earhart, his mother Pam, father Mike, and Smoky Mountain Service dog Freedom. Justin could not be with us due to a particular situation that came up. He's over at Fort Campbell, just could not make the trip. But he has our wonderful dog Thor, and last year they were in Washington, D.C. at the invitation of the VA and met with the Secretary of the VA to talk about the value of service dogs. He would not have taken that trip until he got his dog. So here, Cheryl LaPelle, her husband Brian, son Brian, and her Smoky Mountain Service dog Chance that carries the basket when she goes to get her eggs in the morning. Where's Corey Gotze? Corey has our wonderful dog Nitro, and that's some dog. That's a big boy. Chuck Stewart was our last graduate. He could not make it tonight, but he has our wonderful Smoky Mountain Service dog, Sadie. So if you would express your appreciation. You know, as we take this journey together, you meet some wonderful people. And I want to introduce a couple tonight. Now, I told someone I was not going to get emotional. I'm doing pretty good so far, right, Dan? But we happened to meet a wonderful lady by the name of Ashley Nicholas. Ashley's over here at table 6 with her husband, Todd. And so I got to know a little bit about Ashley. If you live in Tellico Lake, you see these KC-135s flying over the lake all the time, the big refuelers. She flies them. And as an Air Force member and Tennessee Air National Guard, she has been deployed 8 times since 9/11. And she reminded me one time she's qualified to fly more than those 135s. She flies the fast ones too. And then I got to know a little bit about her husband, Todd. Well, Ashley used to fly from Landstuhl, Germany into Afghanistan at nighttime to extract severely wounded veterans. Todd spent 22 years in the Army, I believe it's 22 years, and he was a combat trauma surgeon. Thank you for bringing him home. reasons could not be with us this evening. Back one. Richard and Copper, our first placeman, down in Niota. Chris and Millie, Chris Marine is over in Franklin, Kentucky. Robert with our dog Bearden's up in Glasgow, Kentucky. Diana with Valor is in Farragut. Trevor with Gage is Sharps Chapel. And James and Summit is in Oregon, actually. And Sean and Vanner down in Cleveland, Tennessee. And Dave with Dolly, you may recall, Dave, we lost Dave's first dog, Jack, to leukemia, and he now has a second dog, Dolly, that he's in love with. And Marine Walt has our big boy Buster out west. So we never forget them. They also paid a huge price. Volunteers, goodness, the foundation of our service house. We have 4 world-class trainers that produce these wonderful dogs. Everybody else you meet the Smoky Mountain Service dogs volunteers not only their time, but also their resources. We have puppy raisers that raise puppies and give them back to us at a certain time so we can continue their training. Respite care for weekend. We have socializers, fosters, client applications team led by Susie that it's a process to get one of our dogs. It's a process. And we have a wonderful client applications team that goes through that and leads the recipients through the process. And we've got people that you don't see or think about. Bookkeeper, grant writers. Goodness, we got 8 or 10 guys that'll fight over who gets to mow the grass on that 10 acres. I've never seen anything like it. So, John Lucas, we have legal counsel that volunteers to assist us. So we appreciate all of those, and we'd like to introduce you to the majority of them by video.
Here's what I tell everyone. I was born by God's dear grace in an extraordinary place where the stars and stripes and the eagle fly. It's a big old land with countless dreams. Happiness ain't out of reach. Hard work pays all the way it should. Yeah, I've seen enough to know that we've got it good. With stars and stripes and the eagle flies. There's a lady that stands in a heart of what we believe. And there's a bell that still echoes the price that it costs to be free. I pledge allegiance to this flag. And if that bothers you, well, that's too bad. But if you got pride and you're proud to do, hey, we could use some more like me and you. With stars and stripes and the eagle fly. Ain't the same way that my daddy did. With stars and stripes and eagle fire. With the stars and stripes and the eagle fire.
You get the point. Would all the volunteers please stand? If you volunteer for Smoky Mountain Service Dog, you stand? Thank you. We get asked a lot about when you're going to break ground, when you're going to break ground, when you're going to break ground. We're getting there. We're getting there. So I want to talk just very quickly about the past year in regards to facilities. It's been a busy year. It's been a wonderful year. The whole thing for us this year is, in the coming years, build and sustain. Build and sustain. We want to build this new facility. We're going to. We'll soon be breaking ground. And also, we've been working very hard to put in place a support base that will sustain this organization so that we'll be able to continue to serve wounded veterans. And it was a huge deal last year when the American Valor Foundation, which is the family foundation of Chris Kyle, the American sniper, his mother, Debbie Kyle, his father, Wayne Kyle, his Marine veteran brother, Jeff, supported Smoky Mountain Service Dogs with the Chris Kyle Memorial Benefit in Houston, Texas. And that was a big deal. Actually, it was Dallas, Texas. And so they came up this time last year and brought us a check for $225,000. And that kicked off our More Wags for Warriors campaign. We raised about $600,000. And when we started, I'm thinking, we built this for $500,000. Well, I don't know anything about building. But I'm learning. And so we think the total project is going to be $700,000-800,000. But we're positioned to do it, and we're going to do it. And that was all kicked off as a lot of local entities stepped up also during that campaign. Next. We've been able to what I call sustaining partners. These are people that commit to assist us every year. And that's important. You need a base. And there are many, many here this evening. So if I start, I'm going to forget some. But I'm looking at Ed and Janet Lindsay, who do the Gary Lindsay Memorial Bass Tournament each year in memory of their son, who drowned on our lake, the Tellico Lake. It's folks like that that really enable us to do this. We graduated 6 additional veteran K-9 teams. We had our first audited financial statement, and the CPA said it was the cleanest one they had ever seen. And we're very proud of that, very proud of that. That demonstrates that we operate the way that we say we do. And our goal with the new facility is simple. We have a 6-dog kennel. We're looking at an 18-dog kennel. Our goal is to double the number of veterans and families that we can serve. We've been blessed. So they said, when are you going to break ground? I said, well, hey, look here. We had pipeline construction came out and spent a couple of days or so, and we had to tear out an old concrete slab and some old kennels to redirect the power lines. So they brought the big boy toys out and took care of that. They also ran the water line 700 feet from the road back where we're gonna build, and they donated all of that. In addition, trees, many of you know, came out, and I think they ended up spending about 3 days because we had to remove a lot of large trees for the same purpose, the redirection of the power line. So they were just absolutely wonderful. And I think I may have missed one there, but the Carnes High School cadets, we needed a bunch of painting done. And they rolled in one morning with a bus, and those cadets got off that bus, and we started throwing them paintbrushes and rollers and buckets of paint. They started at the fence, and they painted everything we had. If you stood still very long, you got painted. And they get on laughing. USA's and Sidetail came out with a work party for a day. We're very proud of our Veterans Memorial. And Bill Kemp's here somewhere. And right here. Bill Kemp, because we've been begging hard to get somebody to come out and run the lights and run the power line out to where this memorial is. And we honor each military branch, including the National Guard. It often gets forgotten. But Bill came out, he provided the lights. We had Larry Denny and Jim Gore ran the ditch witch, and next thing I know, we've got beautiful lights on our Veterans Memorial. It's pretty cool. We got there in the country. And of course, we honored Chris Kyle there, the American sniper, very appropriately so. But you're out back that little curvy road tonight, and all of a sudden you come over here and you'll see this. You're like, where am I? It's pretty cool. Next. This is the future. We've already got it staked off. We're just waiting for a couple of yeses from a couple of different parties, and we're going to get the DC-9 out there, and we're going to break some ground. And the new facility will have an 18-dog kennel. It'll have grooming room, feeding room, medical exam room, conference room, but most importantly, we'll also have a 3,500 square foot veteran canine training center where we can train on site. So that's where we are. We're getting close, and we're really excited about starting the project. Okay. Our trainers, goodness. That's where it is. Where's Heather and Susan? Heather Williamson, the canine program manager, Susan Shimwell, Randall. No, I didn't. Travis Randall. See, we play this name game. And they're just wonderful, and Cassie Krause can be with us this evening, our staff trainer. Next slide. The latest member of our team, Jennifer Johnson. This was her first week of Smoky Mountain Service. Going through the presentation deck. Our board of directors, good as worker bees. We don't have any board setters. I mean, everybody has a functional responsibility that they do, and it's a pretty good looking bunch of old folks. I'll tell you, it's amazing the work that comes out of that board. You've seen a lot of you have been to our passing of the leashes, which is graduation. That's when we graduate and present a service dog to a veteran. And these are some clips from the past, but I've kind of shared with you kind of how we do what we do. This is the payday for all of us that volunteer our time and resources. And we'd like to share just a little bit of one of these passing of the leash ceremonies with you. wife Susie to please escort U.S. Army veteran, combat medic, and infantry, Corey Godson.
Yes. So laundry basket's real handy if you've got some clothing or toys. Corey, I'm happy to be here to celebrate your graduation with your dog Nitro. And also on behalf of the Village Quilters and the Quilter Valley Foundation, I'm honored here today to be able to say thank you for your service. Sometimes just saying those words don't seem like quite enough. So what we have for you today is a Quilt of Valor. It's what we consider a civilian award. Sometimes you get medals and ribbons in the service, but this is our award from us. And we would like you to have it, and we hope that it hugs you with warmth and comfort and reminds you over the years that we do honor you and say thank you for your service.
The other half of the new partnership are Canine Nitro. That's why I'm dog here. Now, with all of the volunteers that assisted and handled Nitro, please come forward. This passing of the leash. Thank you so much. Margaret, you can please remain. The others may be seated. Thank you so much for assisting with this wonderful dog.
A little over 1 month. I feel blessed. What an amazing organization. Thank you all to the volunteers. It's amazing what you do. I want to thank God for the life that He's given me. For my family, and for the newest member of our family. Thank you all.
That's what we do together, all of us. Now, I may get emotional now. I can introduce a wonderful friend, a wonderful man, and my goodness. I get to introduce to you U.S. Air Force veteran Captain Bill Robinson. You talk about sacrifice. When you talk about freedom not being free, you're going to look it in the eyes tonight with Captain Bill. Next slide. Captain Bill was chief on a helicopter, and they were going in to rescue a downed pilot who was shot down. He was POW for 2,703 days. That's 8 Christmases. That sacrifice. Captain Bill was at the Manoa Hilton, and it was a long way from Hilton, as we know Hilton's. He was at Briar Patch, he was in the zoo, he was moved around, and he was in a lot of those places and was subjected to the torture techniques of our enemies. He was, John McCain, he was kind of like a welcoming party for John McCain, one of my heroes that we recently lost. When John McCain came into the Hilton, Captain Bill had been there for 2 years. So, it's my honor to introduce you to Captain Bill Robinson from Madisonville, Tennessee.
Whenever I get up in front of the crowd, I try to have a one-liner that describes the moment. And tonight is keeping hope alive. You see, I lived for many, many years on simple hope. And we're here tonight with a group of people, the Smoky Mountain Service Dog is doing just that for every single veteran that comes through their door. Thank Mike, staff, Army of Volunteers for your unwavering effort you put forth every day for our veterans. Let's give them another hand. Vietnam, like World War II and Korea, are starting to be in the past. But over 7 million families had their life altered forever. Over 58,000 gave their life on the battlefield for America and her allies. Sometimes it gets lost in the transition that 39,000 plus were 19 years of age and younger. Yes, we sent our boys off to war. Over 1,600 of them are still listed as missing in action. They joined to some 83,000 other Americans from all wars who wait for us to bring them home. This table is a reminder of that. When I look at that table, the first thing I see is Captain Dwayne Martin. He's on panel 3 East, line 191. So easily, my name could have been beside his. But for some reason, God allowed me to come home. Sadly, during the era of our nation, during that era could not separate the war from the warrior. And those who served did not get the proper homecoming. So I say to my brothers and sisters here in the audience tonight, a simple welcome home. Job well done. My personal experience can easily be described as hours, days, weeks, months, and yes, years of boredom. punctuated by terror. On a rescue mission over North Vietnam, I was shot down and captured, and I would spend the next 8 Thanksgivings, 8 Christmases, and 8 New Years in captivity. No Big Macs, no junk food, no designer jeans. We wore black pajamas, no Nikes. The shoes we wore were cut out of the sidewall of an old car tire. No radio, no TV, no phone, no hot water, cold in the winter, hot in the summer, limited, if any, medical care. We were treated as criminals rather than prisoners of war, because we did not deserve to be treated as humans. Even our government, under the leadership of Secretary of Defense, labeled us as expendable, telling our families it was for our well-being, but the reality was they were trying to get us off the front pages of newspapers and out of the headlines of radio and TV, and they succeeded. It was just like the telegram that they sent my family, telling them that I was missing in action. And the last line said, "Please do not divulge this information to anyone." Along with other prisoners of war, I was tortured and abused by the Vietnamese. And you might say luck was on my side. I only spent 8 months in solitary confinement, where some guys spent as much as 4 years in a 5x7 cell. We counted our outside time in less than 15 minutes a day for some 3.5 years. We were fed twice a day, soup, a side dish, mostly greens and other seasonal vegetables with bread or rice. And I'm here to report that grass grows year-round in Vietnam, where we owed about 115 different varieties of grass. We had 2 special meals a year, Christmas and New Year's, consisting of a piece of meat, a cup of coffee, a piece of fruit, maybe a piece of sweet bread. Living conditions. Most of the cells I lived in for the first couple of years, I could stretch my arms out and touch the outer walls. They were designed for Vietnamese who were basically a 1.5 feet shorter and 75 pounds lighter than the average American. So you could say that they were not the best accommodations available. We had a simple motto in gold, and I wear it here on my patch on my jacket here tonight, and it simply says, "Return with honor." Our guiding light, as we might call it, was never give up, never give in, roll with the punches, bounce back, be ready for the next round. As we moved along, the president stopped the bombing of North Vietnam, and we were excited, thinking that our boat finally arrived. But we quickly realized that we were not part of the plan, and that word, expendable, came back to our minds. After the 68 elections, the Vietnamese changed. Treatment started to improve. But as a result of the stopping of the bombing of North Vietnam, we had been cut off from the outside world. We had relied on the new shoot downs with that encouraging word as we established contact with them. It can't last 3 more months. We'll be out of here before Christmas. You might say that was a simple battle cry, but it was taken away from us during that period of time. Yes, we kept the faith. I say it was simply for faith in ourselves, that we had the tools to get the job done. Faith in each other, that we would stand together, and one day we would return home with honor. Faith in our country, that it would not abandon us in difficult circumstances. But most of all, faith in our God, that He would see us through. When I think about my adventure in the North, I was enjoying luxury accommodations compared to my brothers in South Vietnam, who were being held in bamboo cages. Some were held by guerrilla forces, and their only hope of survival was to escape or be overrun by friendlies. So, when you look for heroes among us, you look for my brothers who served in the South. As our family grew weary of the way the government was handling, when they took their opportunity when they had administration change, and they knocked on the White House door, and it was open. For the first time in nearly 4 years, appealed to be family was invited in to the White House. As a result of that, they were encouraged and they went public. And reminders came about. Our families, some went and met with the Vietnamese in Paris to plead our case, to plead our survival. As a result of that effort, the Vietnamese allowed them to send us letters and packages. Unfortunately, not all received letters or all received packages, but it was a good start at that point. To give you some understanding how cut off we were from the world, in one of the little packages that someone got was a sugar pack. On the back of that sugar pack was a picture of Neil Armstrong planting the American flag on the moon. Our life took a real change in November 1970 when a group of Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps coordinated their efforts and raided a prison camp in North Vietnam, thinking they could secure the release of somewhere around 60 Americans being held at Sante, some 45 miles outside of Hanoi. The raid was successful. If you saw the Bin Laden raid, you saw the Sante raid. Exact. Unfortunately, we had been moved out shortly before due to living conditions, much like where I had been in the Raw Patch. But, as a result of an action of a few, the Vietnamese changed our label from extendable to high value. Those guys that had been in solitary confinement for not just 4 years, all of a sudden walked into a room with 40 other guys. It was a new beginning for all of us. Probably 40 or so guys that were mentally and physically drained at that point got a new shot of life. And being together, we nursed each other back to health and strength. And we were able to return home with honor. Yes, as I looked out tonight as they were presenting the colors, I think about the first flag that was flown over North Vietnam. It didn't fly very high. It flew in a small prison cell in the Hanoi Hilton. A young man named Mike Christensen from a little small town outside of Selma, Alabama. You might say he came from a humble beginning, talked about getting his first new pair of shoes when he was 13 years old, conned his mother into signing for him to join the Navy when he was 17, went on to be a flight officer, and he was captured and spent some time in the Hilton. But Mike said at his home there was always a flag. And so he wanted to change that for his home in Hanoi, as he might say. He gathered material from wherever he could, taking ashes from a cigarette, taking clay tile and grinding it up on the floor, mixing water with it and coming up with the colors he needed. And he donned a few pieces of cloth to the colors he wanted. And with a bamboo needle that he sharpened from a stick on the concrete floor, a string he took from his blanket, and the blanket and black pajamas, he donned the first American flag flown over Vietnam. Senator McCain was there in that room and described the moment as Mike unfurled that flag as they stopped stood at attention and rendered a salute and recited the Pledge of Allegiance. Mike secured that flag during the day. At night, he would proudly display it so only his roommates could see it and not the Vietnamese. But unfortunately, the Vietnamese pulled a surprise inspection and found that flag and went absolutely ballistic. Mike, being the person he was, identified himself as the maker of the flag, caught a rifle bullet across the back of the head, and down he went in front of his roommates. As they stepped forward, the Vietnamese guards ensured they didn't. Mike was dragged out of the room feet first, and essentially, he was the last man tortured in Vietnam. Not for military information, not for political propaganda, just because he wanted to share an American flag with his roommates. Mike was eventually brought back to his room near death. I've talked to some of the other roommates who was since McCain, and they said they didn't think Mike would make it. But nothing but cold water, washcloth, and prayer, they nursed Mike back to health. Eventually, Mike sat up in the middle of his bed with a smile from ear to ear and looked at his roommates and simply said, "Time for flag number 2. Yes, it's simple. You never give up. You never give in. You roll with the punches. You bounce back. You get ready for the next round. We were nearing the end of the war. President Nixon was doing what was original schedule, that was Vietnamize the war. For President Johnson stood up in 1964 when I was in Korea and said, "I'm not going to send American boys to do what Asian boys would do for themselves." 600,000 troops later, he walked away from office. President Nixon took over and started Vietnamizing the war, and by the end of December of 1972, much like it was when I arrived, around 20,000 troops in Southeast Asia. Everything had been settled except for one thing: the return of the prisoners of war. The Vietnamese said, "Oh, just go on to the house, we'll take care of that later." But we knew there were French prisoners being held in North Vietnam that had been there since 1954. And they did not get released until 1979. America would not have stood for that. As a result of that, the Vietnamese got mad and walked away from the table. President Johnson unleashed our mighty Air Forces, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Air Force. In a period of 11 days, we got more bombs than ever been dropped in the history of mankind. Not in any moment to advance the war, but to secure the freedoms of some 591 Americans being held in captivity. And I think about those brave men. During that period of time, not a single non-volunteer broke the ground. They all wanted to bring their brothers home. Yes, only 40 airmen gave their life over the next 11 days for the privilege and for the freedom for me to be able to stand here tonight and simply say, "God bless America." As a result of that action, the Vietnamese hurried back to the table, and an agreement was signed. And on the 12th of February, we were homeward bound. Going out the door or arriving in the Philippines, a friend of mine was asked, "Could you define freedom?" And he simply said, "Doors with inside knobs." Vietnam is a word graduation. But I always say one of the saddest moments to me will always be when we forgave those who ran before we as a nation stood up and said thank you to those who served. Even more earth-shattering is it, we sent a few cowards to Canada, but Canada sent 5 times as many brave young men to come down and stood beside the Americans in their fight for the free world. So often we get asked, how can we honor a veteran? The most wonderful thing you can do to honor each and every veteran is exercise your right to vote. Of your choosing, but vote. Thousands and thousands of young men and women have put themselves in harm's way so that you have that simple privilege. Some people say, well, I don't know a veteran. You can visit any cemetery, look for a bronze plaque, or go to a veteran cemetery. Write that name down. Put it in your pocket. And when you go in that booth and you shut the door and you make your choices, as you walk out, you take that name out of your pocket and look at it and simply say, thank you for this privilege. When I think about my era of Vietnam veterans, we have but one simple goal. Never again of one generation of veterans abandon another. Yes. When you see someone wearing a hat that says veteran, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Coast Guard, you remember that he or she and their family put their dreams on hold for yours. Yes, simply stated, in this great land, some of us dream the dream. Some of us live the dream. Our armed forces defend that dream. God bless. In closing, I want to share with you the words of a fellow POW, a Navy admiral, and a proud senator from the state of Alabama, Jeremiah Denton. These are his words from the 12th of February in 1973. We are honored to have had the opportunity to serve our country under difficult circumstances. We are profoundly grateful to our Commander-in-Chief and to our nation for this day. God bless America.
Not free. Thank you. Would all veterans please stand? we do because that volunteer spirit, but also the giving spirit is huge. And I'd like at this time to acknowledge a few folks that have really stepped up for us in a big way. It's not the entire list by any stretch of the imagination. But this year, Head Investment Group, your wonderful meal this evening, thank them. They stepped up to be the title sponsor of this event and indicated they would like to do it going forward, and we're honored to have them. We have a number of red, white, and blue sponsors: Lakeside Real Estate Group, Gene Y. York Foundation, Isotech LLC, Knoxville Orthopedic Clinic. I'll be seeing him on Monday. Direct Mail Services Knoxville, Kenjo Foundation, Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union, Marine Corps League Detachment 924, and Material Handling Services. We appreciate all of the sponsors. Sustaining partners. This will tell you how blessed we are, because you'll see a lot of names on that list. The list is growing, and they're all just invaluable to us to support us each and every year. And this evening, I have to introduce my daughter, Melissa, and her CEO of Paltry. Between Natural Pet Supply, who has stores in Knoxville and Johnson City, and shipments direct to the home of our veterans that can't get to those two stores, all of our veteran recipients are receiving dog food for the life of the dog. So, thank you. Stick with it.
You better thank Susie.
Thanks, Susan. You know, our business model, and because we do what we do the way we do it, each dollar donated, about 97 cents of it goes where you want to see it go. It doesn't go to executive directors or any of that stuff. So it goes to the care and training of these wonderful dogs and the veterans that receive these dogs. And we're very proud of that business model. Next. Sometimes people want to know where their money goes. We get a donation of $40, so thank you, just fed a dog for a month. And then, of course, ratchets up from there. It cost us between $22,000 and $25,000 to provide one of these dogs. We're honored to do it. We couldn't do it without the giving spirit of the community. Next. The auction. Yeah. We're winding down here now. If you won an item in the silent auction, you should already have your bid sheet delivered. If you didn't, we'll take your money anyway. So it doesn't have to come through the silent auction. But for those that won the silent auction, as you depart these doors, they'll be set up to settle up with you for the evening. And there also will be, in your programs, a little self-addressed envelope. I kind of hesitated to do that, but if you want to leave a little something extra this evening, you're certainly welcome to. We'll appreciate it. If you want to take that self-addressed envelope home with you and think about it, then we'd appreciate that also. There will be a couple of folks out there. Look for the red buckets. And with that said, I'd like to invite Lieutenant Colonel O'Donnell up. There he is. Thank you so much for coming this evening. I hope that you've found it a worthwhile evening, and I hope that we have accomplished the 4 objectives that we had hoped to. This is audience participation.
You guys are ready with the national anthem. Let's all stand.
Bill has a book, and I highly suggest you acquire it and read it. It's called The Longest Rescue, and it'll give you a little more in-depth information of the things of which we spoke. God bless you. Travel safely. We appreciate all that you help us do. Have a great evening.